here with the dialogue so the public can be reassured and we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Delbert?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your comments too, because I too thought this was a no-brainer that could be knocked out in the 15 minutes that it says on the agenda summary it would take. We have a responsibility to find a management of a serious public health issue, public safety issue, that's most cost-effective and efficient as possible. And I'm the one who sat up here, Supervisor Pinches, with you, and we went through this policy of no spray, and I didn't support it because I look around in terms of our roadways and I see the man hours that it takes our transportation department to weed eat and clear around guardrails. To me is ludicrous. When those dollars can be spent filling potholes and hopefully getting some new asphalt down, that's the trade-off that to me is not the cost-effective approach. We've got a weed problem out here. We're not talking aerial spraying of thousands of gallons of herbicides. We're talking spot spray as part of a management tool. To me, that's the most effective way of controlling this noxious weed that's out of control. And when the private landowners can use it is absolutely true. But when public lands are the primary source of this stuff, we have a responsibility to protect not only our lands, but theirs too. And I think that what we have before us is the appropriate way to go. I would be fully capable of supporting this. I'm not sure if there's 3 votes for that. I think that this is postponing the inevitable if we don't just deal with it today and let the folks that have worked so hard on this get moving on it and get this thing under control. I appreciate your philosophy. I'm not asking you to sway from that, but I think that when you gotta look at this thing in its entirety, this is what makes sense. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Colfax?
I think we should divide the motion before us, and I'd be interested in hearing a little more public input. The idea that somehow this was a slam dunk. There are issues up here that some of us think are slam dunks and turn out to be something quite different. It just happens to be where you have your investment in terms of and your constituents with regard to the issue at hand. Having said that, I do not feel here that something as serious as herbicide application on public lands should be based on a 20-minute or a half hour, 45 minutes, or even an hour discussion. You guys have been through it before 3 of us were on the board. But some of us watched it from the outside as well. I sure don't want to save another hour up here and then discover that we're going to spend 3 weeks sometime in October while we deal with the fallout that comes from public reaction to the whole situation. I would divide this item. I would suggest we either table it or we move forward with regard to the clearing, the manual clearing preparation that will give the advocates or those who have the view that there is only one way of dealing with that, and that is herbicides. Come back with your data, come back with your information, eliminate the fire hazard first, address the regeneration problem, and that's what we're really talking about. The regeneration problem is where the herbicide issue comes up, and that can be addressed further down the line once we get more data and a fuller explanation and a fuller involvement of the public when we are, in effect, considering the reversal of a policy at least on one set of public lands here in the county. So I would move here that the motion be divided and this address only the manual removal of gorse, unless there are objections and feel that's by those out there who are working on this and feel that this would be a waste of time, which very well might be.
And that was a motion?
In a clumsy sort of way, that was a motion, yes.
Okay. Calling for a second to the wording brought forward as a motion.
I'd second that motion.
Okay. Discussion to the motion. Supervisor.
Suggestion, Mr. Chair, that we use the stated document from Mr. Kaler with the Gorse Resolution provisions, bullet number 3. We just removed the last 2 sentences. And I would encourage the Executive Office to work with the Agricultural Commissioner and our partners and DOT and bring back a specific plan for the use of herbicides, and the board should take up that at a future time and give some more specifics to it. So we would just remove the last 2 sentences of that 3rd bullet.
It's actually, I think it's number 4. Is that what you're?
It's the 3rd bullet under Gorse Resolution. That's in his staff report. Let's see, where, so we would need to find it in the whereases of the resolution, I guess.
It's number
It's the last, it is the last sentence of,
2
Mr.
sentences of
Chairman,
number 4.
I don't want
Number
to do
4.
anything that holds up the grant for this program. I completely support the eradication of it. I just don't want to, I don't want to have my name on something that supports herbicide spraying. The rest of it, the manual eradication, all that, I completely
can do.
support. But,
Okay, so,
and that's basically, that's why I
So does the
second
clerk have that?
the motion.
To clarify, it's number 4 after now therefore be it resolved.
number 4, therefore now be it resolved, okay. Would the board indulge me to allow a member of the public to comment? Okay, hearing no objections, please step forward.
All right, Athen. Just wanted to clarify that there are 2 sets of funding here. One is the BLM funding that Julie Rogers spoke about, and there is no herbicide involved in that, and that can go ahead, and that's addressing the roadside removal. The Casper Waste Transfer Station project, it's a package deal. I cannot go ahead with the mechanical removal above ground of that material without an understanding that we will be able to go ahead and follow up, because that was part of our proposed approach. So just wanted to clarify that aspect.
Okay, does the board understand that, that tie into the project? Okay, Supervisor Delmar.
Mr. Chairman, with that said, dividing this or editing this out concerns me greatly, and with that, I will not support the motion, because I think what's before us is what has to be presented in full, and the draft resolution is as presented in our staff report. I would be prepared to make a motion to adopt. I cannot take this out and jeopardize that grant funding. Thank you.
Okay, the maker of the motion, back to you. Are you understanding what the supervisor has stated, and what is your wishes?
Well, I think here there's some minor editing that can be dealt with minute order, but I think division is necessary. I think the combination of this, the assumption here that you can't have 2, and you can't have the grant unless you have these 2 elements is simply an issue that has to be dealt with by those who brought it forward. I think it was, to be blunt, I think it was rather presumptuous to move in that direction of linking the 2, so I don't have any problem with going forward with the splitting of the 2, and hope that where you get the 1-2 combination that's required, I would suggest here that those who propose it adapt or try to get revised support for at least part of the project from the funding sources.
Knowing how the coast works politically, I do not believe this could have been brought forward to us without some tacit approval of the use of herbicides to this date. Being the only supervisor sitting here with a piece of property as close as I have to this location, knowing full well that the obnoxious weed that we have before us, again, I call for an exception.